Before I started this rewatch of Doctor Who from the start of Series 1 with my wife, I would have said Series 4 of Doctor Who was pretty terrible. I know that Silence in the Library and the other one that Moff wrote are really good, and I remember thinking Midnight was pretty amazing, but I had basically written the rest of it off as basically crap. And I was wrong! It's so nice. I've talked about how I enjoy being wrong when I think something's going to be terrible, and then I engage with it, and it's not. And it feels amazing, partly because I've found a thing that I like, which is always nice, and partly because the world can be a very negative place a lot of the time, and it's easy to slip into just being a grump about that, which I feel is a reasonable reaction. But it is nice for that to be challenged and go, hey, this thing you thought was going to be terrible actually was really good. And yeah, Series 4, so far, is a lot better than I remember it. Like, a lot. It's not great. It's not as good as Series 1 and Series 3 so far. I've just watched the first 6 episodes. But yeah, it's a lot better than I remember. Before we get to that, I want to do a few quick bits of housekeeping because I forgot some stuff when I was talking about Series 3. First thing was the Doctor creating the power vacuum that the Master then takes advantage of by deposing Harriet Jones is mentioned by one of the characters, but it is never reflected on. Other than that, like, the Doctor never has to face up to the consequences of his actions. And that's not great, is it? There are lots of bad faith arguments that the show like really fixates on how amazing the Doctor is, but it's not amazing to have a really concrete example of the show very deliberately not having the Doctor reflect on the things he did and the consequences of those things. I think partly because the writers don't think the Doctor was wrong to depose Harriet Jones. Who could have foreseen that someone would exploit a power vacuum? It's just the sort of thing that could be really nice if the show actually looked into it. There's some really fun exploration, and there could be really amazing stories that came out of that sort of investigation, but the show doesn't want to do it. I also said in one of the episodes, I forget which, that I really don't like 10th Doctor and Rose's relationship. I thought it like they were trying to cheat their way into them having this really strong connection, which didn't really hold up because it came kind of out of nowhere. And I said you don't need evidence for this because you just need to watch the end of the Christmas special and the start of Series 2. And you don't need evidence for this doesn't pass the vibe check. I think that was sort of, I said the wrong thing rather than that being a genuine reflection of what I think. But still, I think it's an interesting idea. So let's rewatch the last scene of the Series 1-2 Christmas special, where Tennant first introduced, and then we'll watch the first episode of Series 12. So, these guys are like going, oh, it's snowing, but this is actually ash from a spaceship. Like,
What are they, meteors?
you would be able to smell and taste that.
This isn't snow, it's ash.
Notice how
Okay, not so beautiful.
the Doctor and Rose are actually standing, they're not super far apart, but they're really not standing that close together.
No denying the existence
And
of aliens now.
10 really isn't looking at Rose,
Everything's new.
and that's partly because of
And
the
what about
tragedy
you?
of what's happened,
What are
right?
you gonna do next?
That's the first time he's looked at her. She hasn't really... Okay,
Back to
that's a
the
look,
TARDIS.
right?
Same old life.
Same old life. Rose is unsure. They're both unsure. These looks are of nervous people who don't know what the future holds, right?
She changed.
It's a reflective scene. Like, it's not good because it's really focused on,
That way. No,
like... Okay, so Rose stroking the Doctor's shoulder there, that's kind of coupley. But she also stopped. It did get more coupley towards the end. Okay, so this is the first scene where Rose and the Doctor are on screen at the start of New Earth, the first official episode of Series 2. So far, so straightforward. She's just told Mickey she loves him for the first time, that we've seen on camera, by the way.
So where are we going?
Further than we've ever gone before.
It's the
Okay.
year 5,023.
Rose comes out of the TARDIS and is in awe. This is good.
And this
This is a counterexample. Like, this is
New Earth.
evidence against my premise. Ignore the procedure, it's fine.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
That's amazing. Oh, I'll never get used to this. Never. Different ground beneath my feet. Different sky.
She's focused on the moment, she's not focused on the Doctor. Neither of them are looking at each other that much. Again, evidence against my premise. This is good.
It's beautiful. Oh, I love this. Can I just say,
There we go.
traveling with you, I love it.
Me too. Come on.
There we go. That's it. Okay. Okay, that was it. Oh no. That's okay. I don't like that at all. Like, that's the weird coupley shit. That she takes his arm and like gets really close to this. Oh, can I just say traveling viewer? Oh no. Okay. This is a tiny thing, but in at the end of series 3 in Utopia, like Martha knows about the watch.
He's dying.
And she says, think about what the face of Bo said, his dying words. And Jack is standing right there. And Jack doesn't react to someone saying his old publicity name. And that tells me that Jack being the face of Bo is almost certainly a reshoot and wasn't actually planned. It's not necessarily a problem. Like, it's not a bad change. Like, it's not a bad bit of storytelling. It's just clearly not planned and contradicted it within the same series, which ain't great. So yes, people enjoyed Pacifism Chat last time, but I didn't do a great job of talking about the different versions of pacifism, not least because I'm not actually an expert, so I thought I'd run through some pretty quickly. I have a document here which is compiled from a few places on the internet and like slimmed down into a format where it's pretty digestible by ChatGPT. So to run through them super quickly, absolute pacifism is violence is always wrong, no exceptions. Militant pacifism is involved in resistance or activism, protest, civil disobedience or non-violent action to resist violence or oppression, but don't endorse violent means, right? Those two sound pretty similar to me. Conditional pacifism, which is violence can be justified under certain specific conditions. That's the one I do. So like violence in self-defense or to protect innocent lives, but still generally advocate for peaceful means as a first choice, right? That's me. I suspect that's a lot of pacifists because, like, you don't become a pacifist because you're really into dogma, right? You become generally, at least I don't think so, generally, like, I'm a pacifist because I look at suffering and go, how can we have less of that? Selective pacifism, choosing not to support specific wars or acts of violence, but not a blanket rejection of all violence. Active pacifism, beyond just rejecting violence, but actively promotes peace through methods like non-violent protest, diplomacy, and humanitarian work. Proactive stance on peace building and social justice. Sure, it's pretty cool. Non-violence pacifism, similar to active, but emphasize the use of non-violent methods to achieve social or political change. So those first four are pretty fucking similar. And these two in the middle are pretty similar as well. Anyway. Religious pacifism, so like Quakers. And in practice, that drifts into absolute pacifism. Quakers are fucking awesome. Mark Thomas has this joke where he was doing anti-Iraq war protests with a Quaker, and the Quaker had a bumper sticker that was, I am a Quaker. In the event of an emergency, please be quiet and contemplative. Ethical pacifism, which is Kant and Einstein, which opposed war on moral and logistical grounds rather than faith-based ones. So that is different to conditional pacifism, but not that different, right? Pragmatic or strategic. Rather than opposing violence for moral reasons, pragmatic pacifists argue that non-violence is the most effective way to achieve long-term peace. This is what the liberals do. Can't make the liberals. We'll make it grey, the most liberal colour. Nuclear pacifism, which specifically against nuclear weapons. Like, that is basically irrelevant. Relative pacifism, So focuses on the scale of violence. Someone who believes that large-scale war is unjustifiable, but limited small-scale violence like self-defense or community protection might be acceptable, considered a relative pacifist. So that's cool. So that, I think, is a really interesting one. Anarcho-pacifism, a branch of anarchism that believes all forms of coercion, including state violence, military force, and even hierarchical government, should be rejected in favour of voluntary cooperation and non-violent resistance. Leo Tolstoy. A lot of these, I think, are splitting hairs. In my opinion, the four main ones are this: absolute pacifism, violence is always wrong; conditional pacifism, which is violence is justified under certain circumstances; or strategic pacifism, which is non-violence is the most effective way to achieve long-term peace, and like they don't oppose violence for moral reasons, they oppose it for pragmatic reasons; and relative pacifism, which is a little bit like conditional pacifism, but it's all about scale. Hope you had fun on Pacifism Chat Corner. I had a comment. I love my comments. The comments I've been getting have been almost universally really like thoughtful and interesting, especially the people that disagreed with me. And that's really nice. I was not expecting that. I had two comments I wanted to flag up. One was written by a buddy of mine, which is pointing out that the 10th Doctor is so fixated on saving the Master because he thought it was the last of his Time Lords, and now turns out he isn't. And I agree that's for textual reason. But it's a bad textual reason for two reasons. Partly, as I replied, like, if you thought you were the last human and then for like 5 years, and then you found there was another last human and it was Stalin, that would, like, you'd probably not be particularly focused on saving Stalin, especially if Stalin was at that very moment causing millions and millions of deaths. And the other reason is the Doctor doesn't particularly like the Time Lords. As JXE went into in their video, the Time Lords are pricks, and the Doctor's status as last of the Time Lords came more from the things he had to do to end the Time War, rather than I miss the Time Lords, right? Like, it is sad to be the last of your kind, but if the Doctor could bring the Time Lords back, I'm not actually convinced he would, because a lot of them are pricks. Anyway. Okay, let's talk about Series 4 of Doctor Who. Partners in Crime. Partners in Crime is an interesting episode. A lot of it is focused on reuniting the Doctor and Donna. I didn't watch Donna's first episode because I have too much respect for my mental health. But it was still fun to watch. So we have Donna and the Doctor both investigating adipose industries, and what they're doing is investigating in such a way they keep missing each other. So in this scene, Donna is in the crowd and the Doctor's watching from the projection room. In this scene, they are both trying to get a document. The Doctor's talking to that person who wants to fuck him. Oh, actually, he's not a journalist. And Donna's talking to that person. And, like, Donna sticks her head up to look at the printer, and then she sits back down, and the Doctor sticks his head up to look at the printer. And I am torn by this, because it's fun and it's silly. But it's also a bit crap. Like, it's fun, but it's not exactly funny. Like, I like it. It gives the episode a distinct identity of its own. And I think the younger demographics would really love it. So, like, I am glad it's there. I don't really have any specific notes or ways I would change it. So I should probably just let it go. Okay, so they meet. Okay, so the point of the episode is there is this industry called adipose that sell a single diet pill to fat people, and the fat just walks away. And what it turns out is little creatures made of lipids are, like, removing themselves from the human body and walking away. And it's a bit weird because neither of these people are particularly fat. There are a few times in Series 4 where it feels as if people are trying to make up for mistakes made during previous series. And we'll get to a more explicit example of this later, but it does feel a little bit as if Russell was trying to go, I'm sorry about the Slovene, the way we just made the Slovene episodes. Hi, let's point and laugh at these silly, unpleasant fat people who are farting all the time. Like, all the quote-unquote fat people in this episode are depicted pretty sympathetically. I was chatting to a buddy of mine about this. There are a few things that aren't ideal, like the woman here is getting ready for a date. She's dumping her boyfriend because she has the confidence to do that now because she's lost weight. It's not great. We do need to remember that a lot of this fat is bad mentality comes from quite a fucked up place. Like, the BMI, the body mass index, was invented, I think, by a eugenicist. I need to check that. And, like, this whole, fat is bad thing did not come from a very good place in history. This is a whole thing, and Jesus Christ, we don't have time to get into it. Anyway, so Donna accidentally starts the adipose thing to go into overdrive, and this woman is turning entirely into adipose-like flesh. Like, I can't tell if this woman is supposed to look good or not. Is she supposed to look nice because she's going out for a fun time on a town? Or is she supposed to look silly because she's wearing, like, eyeshadow and blusher, and she's got lipstick on, and she's got, like, quite elaborate earrings on? So is she supposed to look nice, or is she supposed to look like a horrible, ugly, fat person who's, like, doused themselves in makeup? I don't know. The fat people in this episode are all depicted sympathetically, like it's bad that this person died. And at the end, these people are all, in pain because their bodies are being converted into fat. And that is seen as a bad thing. I'm pretty sure we're not supposed to like this person. Anyway, this is a nice shot. Like, Donna and the Doctor have both been investigating the fat thing, and they're both looking for where the creature went, and they both walk off in different directions. Like, that is a really nice shot. Thought and care went into that. Donna's mum is being fucking awful. So, talking about characters in Russell T Davies's era having families back home, this comes up a fair bit for Donna, because her granddad and her mum are big characters in her life. But the thing is, I don't know anything about either character, really. Like, I know her mum is awful and borderline emotional abusive, and her granddad, like, has this hobby where he has an allotment and he stargazes from his allotment. But that's kind of it. Like, I don't know what either of them want or kind of spend their time doing. They just kind of seem to be there to take up opposing positions on, like, Donna's various issues. Like, her mum is borderline abusive and really critical, and her granddad is really supportive. And that seems to be, like, 100% of their characters. I'm not really a fan. So the Doctor and Donna continue to infiltrate Adipose. There's this journalist who's crap, and she gets captured immediately. And then the Doctor and Donna, like, see each other, and there's this really quite cute, silent scene between them. It's me. Like, it's cool. I can see that. Like, it's really nice that this is brilliant. Like, it's really nice that you can tell what they're saying, even though you can't hear what they're saying. Lol. Anyway, they immediately get caught. It's fantastic. They run away. There's a scene where they try to get off the roof, and the Doctor's like, oh, no one can undo this unless they have a sonic screwdriver, and she has a sonic pen. It's like, okay, I don't get why she has one and no one else does, but okay, fine. They're trying to get off the roof. The Doctor goes and, like, Donna's in trouble. The Doctor, like, climbs into the building, runs down and opens the thing.
Come on, you're going to tell me what's going on.
Are you a journalist?
Yes.
Well, make it up.
Silly Russell, she's a journalist from The Observer. They don't make things up unless they want to vilify trans people. Anyway. There's not actually much going on. The evil person sets off the machine which is going to activate the adipose. The Doctor and Donna stop it. Eventually. The adipose get, like, sucked up into the air. and she gets sucked up into the air, but the Doctor is like, hey, they're going to kill you. And she is like, yeah, whatever, Trevor. And then she falls like Wile E. Coyote and dies. And that's kind of it. And Donna, like, says, can I come? And then she brings all her shit with her. And Rose is there. How can Rose be there? That's the episode. It's good. Like, no, it's not good. It's, like, okay. Is it very enjoyable? There's not a whole lot to it. It's like, the story is fine. The characters are straightforward. But, you know, it's enjoyable. Yeah, it's definitely not on the same level as any of these fuckers. Apart from possibly 42. People continue to raise eyebrows at my positioning of 42 and good, and that is entirely fair. It probably shouldn't be there. Planet of Ood. Now, we were talking about making up for mistakes from previous series. Planet of Ood does feel like a direct response to the Satan Pit. The Satan Pit that went, oh yeah, these people are slaves, and Rose went, well, maybe you shouldn't keep them as slaves, and then it never went remarked upon again. And in this episode, it's much, much clearer. I did not like this episode when I first saw it. And partly that will have been because this was 2008. I was depressed and had a lot of stuff going on that I wasn't dealing with because I didn't know about most of it. I skipped Fires of Pompeii. Fuck it, I'll do this one. This is the first time Donna's on another planet. They do a not particularly funny section. Donna goes and gets her thing. These are the people who are, like, in charge of Ood production, I suppose. And, like, the Doctor and Donna, oh yeah, they find this Ood, who says the circle must be broken, and dies. They infiltrate Ood Central. Ood Central chase down an Ood and execute it. Tim McInnery, this, like, guy in charge of Ood, whatever, is drinking, like, hair tonic that his Ood gives him, that clearly isn't doing a goddamn thing. This is the Bountiful Human Empire. I would like to think if the show was written now, the Doctor would not be talking about the human empire as if it was a good thing. Empires are bad, guys. But unfortunately, that is a bit of a thing for British people. Like, we are, I think, fairly unique in terms of our school systems, because our school systems do basically everything they possibly can to suppress the idea that the British Empire was anything other than a force for good that, like, brought a lot of technology and medical advances and stuff to other less advanced places in the world. Like, even the US, like, the Civil War was so recent that, like, as a nation, they have to, like, face up to the whole, yeah, freeing the slaves thing, whereas the British Empire is really not, like, gone into in the same way. Anyway, the budget's increased. They've got a lot of extras, haven't they? Okay, so yeah, initially, the Doctor referred to the Ood as servants, and then they've got this one guy who's in charge of security, like, using a whip on one of the Ood, and Donna calls them out as slaves, correctly. I'm not a fan on the head of security and the head of PR in this being both, like, racialized people, like, especially if you're doing a story about slaves, having the black guy, like, be the one who's enforcing discipline with the use of a whip. I'm not a massive fan of that, but again, not an expert on race. I'm white. Anyway, so they go, the scientists and so on go into this building where something important happens, but they can't work out why some Ood are flipping out and attacking people. So the Doctor and Donna investigate this thing. They find lots and lots of Ood who are in the process of being shipped off. Everyone says the circle must be broken, but they get caught. Donna gets stuck in a container with a bunch of Ood, and the head of security is chasing the Doctor with a big old crane sort of thing. And right, so yeah, the Ood with Donna get red eyes, which means they're going to wig out and try and kill her. So she is sticking herself in a corner.
Stay where you are! That's an order! I said stay!
Now, Donna has very much been on the side of you this whole thing, and the fact that she decides to give them an order at this point could be a very pointed critique on how certain people, particularly white people, tend to kind of nominally be on the side of like social justice, racial justice, etc., especially when it comes to like things like reparations. But like when things start going wrong, they immediately abandon these supposedly deeply held beliefs. It could be saying that, or it could be just having Donna like say it, and it's seen as perfectly reasonable to give a slave an order because she thinks her life is in danger. Correctly. She correctly thinks her life is in danger. And because the show had been actually doing a pretty good job on like the racism and like the slavery analogy up to this point, in this episode specifically, God, not the Satan pit, I was expecting this to be more of a significant moment that then got reflected upon, but it kind of didn't, which is a bit of a shame. It's a missed opportunity. Anyway, they break out. There's this other racialized person who tries to like call security on them. They find these Ood who are unprocessed, who are in like, who haven't had the little white glowy ball in. And it turns out those dudes have, the doctor cues Donna into like the telepathic field of the Ood, and she hears them like screaming or crying, and she gets really upset. And this is it's a good moment. It is a good moment. But it's kind of difficult because the audience aren't the show doesn't present the Ood suffering and like really make us feel it. Like it's like the Ood suffering is obviously bad, and the audience are very much supposed to be on the Ood side. But they don't make us feel what Donna is feeling. They show us what Donna is feeling, and we are expected to use that to imply how much, like, we're supposed to use that to extrapolate how much the Ood are suffering. And I don't particularly like that. It's complicated. Anyway, so it turns out the Ood have a second brain, like these things in their hands are a second brain that contains like knowledge and stuff. And which means they're like really vulnerable, and and Donna realizes they can only be peaceful because like they're intensely vulnerable. And that's a cool realization. Like, I hadn't realized that. It was nice to have Donna point it out. So they're going to gas all the Ood. And so the Ood restart their telepathic field. The rest of the Ood like begin to make telepathic circles, wig out, and start a slave rebellion. Very nice. This is cool. So, the lady who tried to like dob the Doctor and Donna into the security services gets ganked. And like, there's a lot you can say about this and race, and I don't have the expertise, lol. Anyway, this whole thing is kind of interesting because there are lots and lots of Ood who are not being very quick, but they are like pretty relentless, and they are massacring the guards. And the imagery is of a zombie film. So like, there are lots of people who are shooting the Ood and then running out of bullets and then getting ganked by the Ood. Oh, this is cool.
Be broken! Dr. Donna, friends! The circle must friends! The circle! Dr. Donna, friends! Dr. Donna, friends! Be broken!
That's really cool. So yeah, the wigging out Ood are closing in on Doctor and Donna. And both the Doctor and Donna are calling back to something they learned earlier, and they are both trying to save their lives in different ways. And it's cool. Like, they both have different ideas, they both try them, and who can say which one was what did it? Like, it was the combination of the two that did it. Anyway, yes, so this is the imagery of the zombie film. Like, we see lots of guards get zhuzhed down, a lot of characters are being picked off. A technologically advanced human force with guns is being slowly, like, whittled away by this seemingly unstoppable force. It's a zombie film, but we are on the side of the zombies. I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's cool. My partner apparently picked up on it a lot quicker than I did because they've watched Black Sails and things, and in Black Sails and things there are a lot of like depictions of slave revolts, which is basically like this, which, you know, cool. I should probably watch those episodes. That's a bit naff. Anyway, so far this is all really good. It's not really good. So far this is all good. Like, so the storytelling is really solid. The characters are good. There are a few like bits I'm not particularly fond of, but overall, it's got a fairly straightforward ethical position. Slavery is bad. But unlike a lot of the other straightforward ethical positions the show has performatively taken, it actually believes this one, because slavery is bad all the way through and they don't like cop out at the end. Okay, so these guys want to blow up the thing we haven't seen yet in Warehouse 15. Warehouse 15 has the Ood brain in it, which is the central core of Ood's telepathy. This is where things start going wrong. Why does it look like a human brain? That's dumb. It should be something else. Like, that doesn't look very good. This scientist dude in a white coat, it turns out, works for the Ood Liberation Front. Tim McInnery's character immediately just throws him into the Ood brain, where he gets eaten? Weird. Anyway, so Tim McInnery is having trouble. Like, he wants to shoot them. And Ood Sigma, who's his personal Ood, gives Tim, like, more hair tonic. And it turns out that he has been being poisoned by the Ood. Big fucking surprise. But they don't want to have the Ood just kill him. Like, he turns into an Ood? And not only does it look shit, it's a really stupid idea. And for me, this, like, the episode was being really solid and good, and that just fucking tanks it for me. And plenty of people won't mind it, and that's entirely legit. I just really don't like it. Like, taking a human and, like, through the use of, like, a tonic, which I think is, like, some Ood pheromones or something. Not Ood secretions or whatever. For the use of a tonic, they rewrite his biology to make him an Ood. Like, no, that's bad. And it's supposed to be just desserts for this guy. Like, he's been subjugating Ood his entire life, and so have his family, so he has become an Ood as well. Like, it's asinine and childish to do that, and again, I've got a really nasty feeling that they do that because they don't want to kill him, and they don't really know what to do with him, this character, and they don't want to kill him, so they turn him into an Ood because that's an answer, and it's just kind of, it's not very good. Anyway, they realise, the circle must be broken refers to that ring of electricity around the brain. Ood Sigma, like, asks the Doctor to break the circle, and the Doctor does, and the Ood are free. So, interestingly, these last few shots use the imagery of the Great White Saviour. The Ood are free because of the white people who showed up, the Doctor and Donna. However, if we look at the plot of the episode, the Doctor and Donna didn't actually do anything. I think. Like, what happened was the Ood freed themselves and the Doctor and Donna were there. Now, a lot of storytelling wisdom will tell you it's a really bad idea to have your characters not affect the story. And those people are wrong. A lot of the time it's good advice, but Ian Danskin did a video about joy in Blade Runner 2049 and pointed out that we can't really tell stories about capitalism unless we have characters who, like, can't affect the overall story because capitalism is too big for any of us to change unless we work together. And similarly, in this episode, it would have been a bad idea for the Doctor and or Donna to be the like fundamental linchpin that has the Ood win their freedom. Instead, they have the slaves free themselves. The slaves are responsible for their own emancipation. Tick. Unfortunately for me, the turning into an Ood thing at the end and the goofy Ood brain and the fact that they have this scientist who is a worker for the Ood Liberation Front who doesn't fucking do anything, like, it drags it down from good into okay. No. If I've got 42 here, I can't have Planet of the Ood there. Fuck that. Either Planet of the Ood and 42 should be okay, or they should both be good. You can't have one of them. You can't have that there and that there. No, fuck that shit. The complaints I have are nitpicky. They are too significant for me to really give it a pass. Because it's like takes a real plot left turn and go, what the fuck are you talking about? Stuff like that really takes me out of the experience. But yeah, it's good. What is also good is Fires of Pompeii, because I did this in the wrong order. Fires of Pompeii, I remember as being shit. It's not. I was wrong. This is amazing. Fires of Pompeii is a really solid episode. I don't have a massive amount to say about it, because it's just kind of straightforward. Everything works. The ending, again, is a bit wobbly, and like they have a scene at the end, which is this screenshot, where Peter Capaldi and his family are like really upset that Pompey died, and you don't really, it's kind of unnecessary and it doesn't really work. And the scene at the end where everyone's in the volcano is like the Doctor and Donna and the other human who's there, they would melt. Like, volcanoes are, I don't want to spoil this for you, quite hot. Yeah, like, it's good with a few things that lets it down. A thing I didn't realise is when there are two soothsayers who can actually see the future, who are both having like a soothsayer off, and one of them mentions to Donna that she's got something on her back, and one of them says turn left. And I didn't notice that. I was too into the episode. Jen had to point it out. Which brings us to the overarching story of Series 4. There have been a few mentions of the bees disappearing, which is bad, and Russ shouldn't do it. But I was really impressed when Jen told me about someone mentioning Donna's got a thing on her back and stuff. It's like, oh shit, that's cool. I didn't notice that. Moving on, Sontaran Stratagem and The Poison Sky. I remember these episodes being absolutely fucking terrible. They aren't. That's nice, isn't it? They are significantly better than Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks. Generally speaking, it's very solid all the way through. There are a few problems, like the show can't decide if it wants UNIT to be this like quite efficient, brutal war on terror overreach of like a military organization, or if they're just kind of crap. Because the majority of the people that we see in UNIT just kind of don't really know what they're doing and are either lazy, ignorant, or just sort of military and gung-ho, right up until the point where, right at the end, the military like work out how to counter the Sontarans and just immediately start wiping the floor of them. It's a bit weird. The Sontarans themselves are odd. Sometimes it works. So in this scene, some crap UNIT people have gone into the Sontaran base and have just been unbelievably crap, and like the scene honestly is bad. And this Sontaran comes out, and I was expecting to hate the look. I think it actually kind of works. And your man has this like zappy laser, which like incapacitates the dudes, and they immediately fold. I think that's kind of cool. It's not Sontaran. That is the case for like the majority of both episodes. The Sontarans are really not acting like Sontarans. And similarly, Martha is acting like kind of a dumbass. She realizes what's up with this guy. Cool. Yeah, so she follows these two people down into the bowels of the fucking factory they're in. And she only realizes when she walks into the actual place that she's been duped. And, like, that's not Martha. Martha is a lot smarter than that. Martha would have noticed a lot earlier that something is very clearly wrong. And Jen and I have theories about this. We reckon that when these episodes were originally written, they didn't contain Martha and they weren't about Sontarans, because the Sontarans are not acting like Sontarans and Martha isn't acting like Martha, and they then grafted the Sontarans and Martha onto the episode after the fact. looking at it from that point of view, everything makes a lot more sense. Like, Martha's just some rando who gets captured. And the Sontarans are just some aliens who are trying to convert this planet into a breeding ground, rather than doing seemingly whatever they possibly can to avoid fighting, which is very much not Sontaran's thing. The car sat-nav thing is goofy and bad. Like, why do they have the sat-navs, like, drive people into the river? It's just kind of stupid. Like, it doesn't actually do anything. The Sontaran strategy is distribute a source of the gas, which they do by putting the gas in cars, like sat-navs, killer sat-navs. And that would create a really uneven distribution of the gas. And it's like, but why though? It really annoys me when we have a Doctor Who episode and suddenly everyone on Earth is using a technology that they weren't using previously. It's like, technological uptake is really fucking slow. And they say, oh yeah, all the UK government vehicles are using their Atmos sat-nav. Like, no, you can't get people to, like, you can't get technological change to move that quickly. You know how long it took us to be all using smartphones? It was like many years. It would have been much better and would have made more sense if they had been like sticking carbon capture devices on coal power plants. This was Jen's idea, this isn't mine. And they know that the carbon capture device is like outputting something that they don't quite recognize, but as far as UNIT can tell, it's fine. And then the Sontarans don't just activate it and get the carbon capture outfit to like spew out gas, which is coming from nowhere. They get the coal power plants to spew out like an activating agent, and that causes the gas that is in the air, that is all over the planet, to suddenly activate, and suddenly everything's the poison sky. That would have been a lot better. The sat-nav thing is goofy and is kind of stupid and doesn't really work. What I find interesting about this with regards to how grafted on the Sontarans are is right at the end of the first episode and a few times in the second episode, they do this. Now, I don't think this works. What I think they are doing is a hacker. So for those who don't know, a hacker is, I believe, a Maori tradition where, like, the Maori would, back in the days where we'd all go to war with each other because the Maori were defending themselves against British colonialism, they would, like, do a ritual where, like, they would go, we're going to fuck you up, guys. Okay. So it's this for a bit, and then it fucking kicks in. So that is what I think they're going for with the Sontar Ha. But you'll notice there are a few key differences. One is that the hacker is done to intimidate the opposition. The Sontarans are doing Sontar Ha in their own ship, and they're like psyching themselves up, which is just a bit odd. It's the sort of thing I could get behind if they were marching off to war. If they were doing this as they were marching onto Earth off their spaceship. But as it is, they're just sort of chanting Sontar Ha. Don't worry about the human there. His presence is actually kind of cool. There are upsides and downsides with it. Sontar Ha, Sontar Ha. Yes, the thing about the hacker is it's not just two words repeated. There's actually quite a lot going on. And yeah, you don't want to write a whole alien language for one moment, but at the same time, like, it makes the scene kind of goofy.
Weapons! Sontar! 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 Sontar!
Yeah, it's goofy because they're just saying Sontar Ha. Like, it's patriotic, cool, but it's very repetitive, which is kind of the point. But it is also just Sontar Ha. So it's relying on sort of the gravitas of the moment to make it work. And I don't think it does. It just seems, to me at least, to be kind of silly. Poison Sky is very similar to Sontar's Stratagem in that it works. It's got problems. They both have problems. But overall, they're both very solid. I'm running out of room on my fucking chart. Yeah, upsides and downsides. None of them are as good as this lot. But they're, like, very enjoyable. They're real solid. Doctor's Daughter! Is it bad or terrible? It's terrible. Sorry, just looking at the other... Okay. So, Doctor's Daughter is frustrating. Because it has a lot of good ideas done badly. I thought, with the Lazarus Experiment, I thought that was written by Mark Gatiss, because Mark Gatiss is the lead actor. It wasn't. It was written by the guy who did this, which explains why they're both shit. So everyone lands, and there's this war which has been going on for generations between humans and fish people. The Doctor and Donna and Martha land. The humans grab the Doctor and shove his hand into this cloning machine. Because everyone new needs to be processed. We need to get clones of everyone. And this clone comes out. That's the Doctor's clone, right? Who they make using the cloning machine. And then this human war set of people, they don't do the same thing to Martha and Donna. They just do it to the Doctor because the show wants to have the Doctor's daughter / clone, but they don't want to actually respect their own premise. Anyway, so the Doctor and Donna Doctor, Donna and Martha get separated. Martha's with the fish people who do not look very good. The show does the shit moral binary thing again, where Donna is like, Jenny's a person. Jenny's the name that you give the Doctor's daughter / clone. Jenny's a person, like, she deserves your respect. And the Doctor's like, she's a soldier. She's bad. And it does the shit Doctor Who thing where, like, it wants to talk about philosophy. In this case, the philosophy of militarism and clone soldiers and forever wars. But it doesn't want to actually talk about it, so it just has people take strong positions on either side of the argument and just have them sort of run at it. None of the premise really makes sense. Everything moves so quickly that rather than have moments actually happen organically and have characters' reactions tell us how they feel, they just sort of have to have the characters say what they're thinking. So the Doctor is just constantly going, she's a soldier, she's bad, and Madonna's going, she's your daughter, you should love her. Like, just saying the plot out loud, and like, you can't just have characters announce how you feel, that makes me angry. Martha falls into a fucking puddle. Oh god, you're like, there's this laser grid, and Jenny's trapped on the other side. She has to get through the grid because the soldiers are coming. And to get through the grid, she does flips, like gymnastics. And it's supposed to be really impressive, but it looks crap. Like, what are the flips doing? They're clearly trying to do that Catherine Zeta-Jones film Entrapment with the lasers. But it just doesn't work. Martha is being crap and dying in this puddle. The half jumps in, who's her buddy, because she saved him earlier, jumps in way past her and like shoves her onto the shore. Your man is really in range of Martha. Like, the half could like hang onto her boot, and Martha's on the shore, but he just immediately sinks and dies. The show, this episode really doesn't let any moments sit. Donna is working out what's wrong with the way the place was built, and she works out that the war, this generation's long war, has only been going for 7 days, which means that like all the soldiers have been dying all the time. You mean to tell me that no soldier has lasted 7 days? Not even like the commander. It's dumb and goofy and stupid. Martha doesn't fucking do anything. She's there to humanize the half. Anyway, these humans and the half show up. There's a that ball in the middle is like a terraforming device, which the Doctor activates by breaking it. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not what you're supposed to do with those things. And then the white-haired guy, who's the like leader of the human military, tries to shoot the Doctor. Jenny jumps in front of a bullet and saves him. And it's just because everything in this episode is so rushed, and the leader of the human military has no character other than war good. It just doesn't work. And she dies in the Doctor's arms, and the Doctor is like, rawr. He grabs a gun and holds it at the guy's, like, your man's head. And it's really hollow because we know he's not going to hold up to it. And, like, we're supposed to think that the Doctor is, like, really is really holding himself back. Like, there's the dramatic music and the Doctor's going, and, like, this is Docky, this is someone you've known for about 20 minutes. It's all about, supposedly, about the Doctor and his relationship with his own children, and, like, him accepting Jenny as a person for her to only die, like, moments later, and, oh, it's really sad or whatever. And it's just because everything is so rushed, I genuinely it just doesn't land. And, like, he goes, oh, I'm not going to kill you.
I never would. Have you got that? I never would.
That was held up by JXE as this really important moment. When I saw the clips of that in JXE's Doctor Who videos, I thought it came from Waters of Mars because people love that fucking thing. I didn't realise it came from this extremely bad episode where the moment doesn't land. It's not important because, of course, he was never going to fucking shoot the guy. Like, it doesn't come across as the Doctor genuinely being torn because because the episode is so fucking rushed. Nothing is given space to breathe. We're constantly switching between the Doctor and Donna and then Martha, and, like, there's all this stuff going on. None of it's given the time to have it actually work. And all the peril is crap. And all the solutions to the peril are crap, like Jenny doing flips through a laser grid for no reason. And it's just a weird idea. Like, in order to have this make sense, you would have needed to spend the entire episode building up to just this. Like, really focusing on making sure that the Doctor and Jenny bond, and really making us, like, get into the Doctor's shoes, and really making the audience think, oh shit, maybe he will actually kill him. For the moment to work, the audience have to believe that there is the possibility that the Doctor will kill him. And it's never going to happen. So you're mad. So, like, it's a deeply frustrating episode, because in theory, everything that happens is good, but the execution is all terrible. If it was a two-parter, and being written by someone who is a lot better at their job than the guy who wrote this and the Lazarus Experiment, it's deeply frustrating. But, you know what's good? Everything, with the exception of this, has been either okay or good from Series 4, and The Doctor's Daughter isn't terrible because of some, like, fundamental problem at the show's core. It's terrible because the writer didn't really have the skill to pull off what they wanted to do. It had a lot of good ideas, the performances are okay, but, like, it just doesn't work, which is a shame. But yeah, overall, I'm into Series 4. I'm not looking forward to the finale, because the finale's... I know I'm not going to like it, but to be fair, I have thought that before and been wrong. So, yes. Okay. I have one last thing, which is a comment someone left on one of my other videos, which was, oh yeah, my video about how Series 2 is terrible. And your man said, if you think Series 2 is terrible, wait until you see Series 5 through 10, right? And this is clearly just one of those guys who makes a weirdly large part of their personality about disliking Stephen Moffat. And whatever gets you through life, man. But if that is you, if you believe Russell T Davis's Doctor Who is amazing, and Series 1 through 4 are just peak television and none of it's bad or whatever, but you think that the show really went off the rails for Series 5 through 10, and Series 5 through 10 is terrible because Moffat is a sexist, misogynist prick, and all his work is shit. It's all shit, man. It's all shit. Don't go and look at it. If that's you, I would encourage you to consider how much I have been wrong on this journey I've been on. And I would like you to consider the possibility, just the possibility, that you are also wrong about Stephen Moffat's Doctor Who. And I would recommend that you try rewatching some of it. start from the start of Series 5, start from the start of Series 10, because those are both good jumping on points. I would, yeah, give it a go. You might be wrong. You might not be wrong. You might rewatch like 10 episodes of Series 5 or 10 or whatever and go, oh no, this is all terrible. This is all completely worthless, whatever. And if you do, you've confirmed that your opinion holds. But yeah, if you take anything out of these videos that I am making, I really would like it to be for people to consider the possibility that they are wrong about stuff like media, and that going back and watching this thing that people love and just making sure that your opinion still holds, it can be worthwhile, because it can lead to you having a really great time watching Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is fantastic. It's practically unique as a show, and when it's good, it's really fucking good. It's worth thinking about.